This used to be one of my nicest Miscanthus. It was huge, and it was always a showstopper at the end of the season. But something's happened. Last year it didn't grow very well. It's not nearly as tall as it usually is. And there's this hollow spot. What the heck's going on? Well, in this video I'll explain what's going on and show you what to do about it. There are two problems here. One is that this grass has been here for at least 8 years and maybe 10 years. As this grass grows, it always grows on the outside. And so after a while, the center dies out and you get this hollow spot. So I have grass here and here and here, nothing in the middle. And that's normal for grasses. That's not a problem for the grass. It's happy like this. But for aesthetic reasons, we don't really want to see this. The second problem I have here is that there's an evergreen beside it. And over the years, this has gotten taller and taller, and it's shaded this area more and more. There's also trees behind the camera, and that direction is south. They're getting bigger, and there's more shadow coming this way. So this loves full sun, and it's no longer getting that. And that's the second problem, and that's why it's not growing so tall. The solution here is pretty simple. I'm going to dig up the whole thing and then replant it. And that's what I'm going to show you in this video. Digging up these grasses is really no different than any other perennial, but they have really tough roots. So what I do is I dig around all sides and finally pry it out. That wasn't too bad. Here's a nice clump. It's got a good root system. It's the 1st of May, so it's still pretty early for these grasses to grow. They only grow once it gets warm. And they're starting to grow down here. So this piece is good. Now I can go and dig up the other pieces. So now I've got about 5 clumps of this grass. If I was somewhere else in the garden and I wanted this grass here, what I would do now is dig a hole in the middle where the dead stuff was and plant this. The other pieces I would take away, and then I'd let this grass start to grow, and over the years it get larger and larger. If I wanted a larger display here right away, I could plant a couple clumps together, but if I do that, they'll get too big sooner. So it's up to you. Have a big clump right now and divide it more often, or just put one here and have a little patience. And that's what I would do. The problem with this spot is it's just getting too shady for this grass. So there's really no point in putting some back. I've left a little bit behind me here. It's a little sunnier here. I'll leave that for now, but I think I'm going to put this grass somewhere else. Now with this grass I was pretty lucky. It sort of split up into small chunks all on its own because the center was dying out. Usually what happens is that you have a big clump and you either want to move it or you want to divide it. And the one thing about grasses is dividing them can be a real chore. There are a couple ways to do it. You can get a knife and cut it, but that really only works on some of the smaller grasses. This is a 6-foot Miscanthus, and it's tough in here. You can also use your shovel, and what I would use is a spade. One that has a flat end, sharpen it, put it in here, and then jump on it and cut it. And that can work, but on a really tough clump, even that is difficult. So when we have a tough clump of grass, there's another solution that works quite well. And what we do is we bring out the big boys. Two clumps. I know that sounds really cruel to the grass, but it'll grow back with no problem. One last thing I want to mention. You can see that I haven't cut this grass back yet. Normally I would have done it by this time of the year, but I thought I'd leave it to make the video. So before I plant it, I will cut back all this dead stuff, leave a couple inches. That will allow the new green growth to grow up without all this brown stuff in the way. That's really all there is to dividing grasses. Ornamental grasses are great, and I've made a separate video that tells you everything about them and shows you my favorite types of grasses. I'll put a link to that video in the top right-hand corner. Have fun growing ornamental grasses.